Doc, are you able to speak? We are technically live, but I've told them we're starting soon. Say something if you can hear me. But for those of you joining us, we have started. We still have a bit of a technical situation, and hence why the scroll is saying we started 17:05. But then I've got Dr. Nkhoma on the call, but there's something, a bit of a technical situation going on with him. And so his image is stuck there. But the fact that we advertise this means we will start either way at 17:05. And I hope Dr. Nkhoma will be able to sort out his technical glitch. As you can see, he is stuck in the image. So we've been trying to get that to work for the last couple of minutes, and it's been a problem. So let me see if I can change something here. I will change this. There you go. I'll make him smaller. And then when he's able to get his technical thing going, then he'll come to full size. But whichever the way, I want to thank you all for coming on the call today. We start at 17:05. I think I can hear you now, Doc. But what you need to do is just confirm if you can hear me. I can hear you, but I'm not sure if you can hear me. Just confirm if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm not sure the Doc can hear me. So we, for the sake of those that are live right now watching, we will in exactly 1 minute. We do not lose time. We have so much content to unpack. It's a pity the Doc can't hear me. Doc, can you hear me? But if he can, I hope he'll be able to, because I can see his camera is now working. So the only issue he has there is just to hear my audio. But either way, thank you guys for joining us. We have a very interesting show today, and it's a very exciting topic that we'll be running with. So share widely with someone, and we are at 17:05. So we have officially started. So welcome to the show. Parliament of People, the final battle over Bill 7. So we are quite excited about this, and I will be having quite a deep conversation with Dr. Nkhoma as we reflect and look at what's going on. But what I'd like you to do, those of you joining us live, share, tag somebody, just let people know that we've started. Dr. Nkhoma is having a technical challenge, so he will be joining us soon. But we have a very, very loaded show, and so we're not going to waste any time. We will get started. We will discuss everything going on right away. So this is very exciting. Yep, Frank Zulu, we see you there. Thank you for coming through and commenting. I won't be able to highlight a lot of comments because we will go into the thick of things. I am part of the conversation, and of course, because I am, that means I will be, actively participating on what's going on. So either way, a lot of you are very familiar with this topic. You know that this topic has been quite the rubber rouser. Why? Because it's a very sensitive topic. It has garnered a lot of attention across the nation, and not just within Zambia, but even in the diaspora. There's been a lot of talk about this particular topic. People really want to understand what's going on. Now, for those of you who may have crawled from under a rock and missed what's going on, we have a constitution amendment process going on. It's been going on for a while. It started off in Parliament, where it was raised, and of course, once it was raised, a number of issues were raised against it, and so it was deferred. Why was it deferred? Because they were going to take it through this process. So this process that had been suggested is that, being the constitution, it needs more inclusivity, it needs more transparency, it needs to involve as many people as possible so that we get, a much deeper and much better, inclusion to the process. That seems to have kind of derailed, because initially you had the Oasis Forum, who raised quite a bit of concerns about what's going on with the process by which this whole situation is going on. That too was an Oasis Forum is actually a number of civil society organizations. So it's not just one particular group or two particular groups. It's a number of particular groups. The main church mother bodies, LAS, and a number of CSOs, civic society organizations, did rise up to bring their concerns against both the bill, Bill 10, which was published and brought for reading so that people could be able to understand what it has and the points on it. And then on top of that, the reservations that were there and the process that they were suggesting should be done. Unfortunately, there seemed to have been a breakdown somewhere between deferring the motion in order to run with the so-called inclusive process with the public. Somewhere there was a breakdown. Somewhere there, the process kind of went there was a fork in the road, if you like. And so in the fork in the road, what happened? A group insisted that the whole process be withdrawn for further consultation. The other group, which is government, insisted that they proceed, form a technical committee, and then go around the country, and they gave the technical committee about 4 weeks to get this process done. That's where everything kind of went south, because a number of concerns again were raised, saying, I mean, how does a technical committee actually get to pull this off in 4 weeks? If they're going to go around the whole country, unless they're different groups going around and hearing from everybody at the same time, how's that even possible? Further, I think today we were told, it was a headline either yesterday or today, that 11,800 submissions were done. Now, I'm going to show you something very interesting. 11,800 submissions. Now, let's just look at that. 11,800 submissions is quite a bit. I'm trying to look for my calculator. I don't know where it's gone. But I would have loved to get to it and then show you what makes this a very interesting number. There you go. So 11,800 submissions. So 11,800 submissions in how many weeks? Maybe 3. Let me be fair. Let's just do the whole 4 weeks. I know it's not 4 weeks, but let's just do 4 weeks. So let's divide this by 5 days. They're working 5 days a day, 5 days a week. So 4 weeks, that's 20 days. So let's divide this by 20 days. Gives us 590 submissions a day. Let's assume they were working 8 hours, which I know they were not, because they were working, probably breaking for lunch and coming back in the afternoon, not to mention the logistics, but this is across the country. I don't know how they were doing it specifically, so somebody will correct us. But let's just divide this 590. These are 590 submissions a day. Divide this by 8 hours, and we're getting 73 submissions an hour. So I don't know if these submissions were less than 1 minute. No, because if we divide this by 60, it means each submission was roughly 1 minute and 10 seconds, or maybe 15 seconds. I really don't know how that works, my friends. So unless somebody tells me that these submissions were done electronically, that people came and submitted electronically across the provinces, and that the committee sat in all 10 provinces. I'm really hoping that's what the situation is. So 10 technical committees across 10 provinces simultaneously hearing what submissions are coming through. So if you give me that scenario, maybe it can work. So let's go back and look at this. I'm doing this all because I'm waiting to see if Dr. Nkhoma can come back in. So let me see if I can get him back in. Dr. Nkhoma, can you hear me? Are you able to speak? And are you able to hear what I'm saying? Because we can see him there. But meantime, as we're waiting for Doc to get his technicals together, let me finish off my conversation. So we've got 10 provinces, so 11,800. And assuming, Doc, I can hear some sound there. Can you hear me? Just speak something. No, he can't hear me. Oh my, I don't know what's going on there. I hope you managed to click something and get it to work. So there are 10 provinces. Assuming that each province produced 1,180 submissions, divide this by 4. Since there are like 10 committees across the whole country, that's 295 submissions per province. Oh, there. Can you hear me though? I can hear you. I just heard that and then it went. Can you hear me, Doc? Okay, we're still having a technical problem with Doc. So 295 submissions per province. Divide this by, oh, that's 4. 295 a day. Okay, you know what? I'm getting my whole thing mixed up. I think it was 4 weeks, 295 a week. So divide by 5 gives us 59 submissions a day. Divide this by 8 gives us 7 submissions a day. Maybe that would work. If these submissions are separate across the country and with 10 different groups receiving this, extensions of the technical committee, maybe that could work. But I think anybody who sits and does the math, the 11,800 sounds a bit stretched, but hey, what can we say? So let's go into the questions. I raised some questions, which we're now going to begin to look into, each and every one of them. I really hope Doc can come through. It would be quite a travesty if Doc can't come through. But let me jump straight into the question. So let's go into question 1. And then what we're also going to do at the close of these sessions. Okay, so Eugene Ngosa is saying these, it was 8 weeks. There are electronic submissions as well. Okay, great. That makes sense. Because other than that, it would have been really something else, eh? So anyway, let's go straight into looking at the first question. So the first question is, was State House consultation genuine dialogue or just political theater designed to legitimize Bill 7? So that's the first question. So I'm going to give my view, but I really pray that, okay, there's Doc again. Let's see if he'll be able to come through. I hope he can come through. And if he does, then obviously he will jump straight into answering this. So I'll give you my take on question number 1. Was, Doc, can you hear me? Are you able to speak? I can hear an echo though, but can you hear me? So the first question is, was... Okay, so Doc,
maybe when I'm off.
There you go.
If I'm off audio, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Video.
Okay, but can you hear me though in real time?
I'm gonna be off video, so that yes, I can hear you better. Yeah.
So if I say
yes
now, you can hear that. When I say now,
yes,
can you hear that?
Correctly. I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, there is a bit of a delay, I noticed. Anyway, so we are on question 1. Okay, so we're on question 1. Was the State House consultation genuine dialogue or just political theater designed to legitimize Bill 7? But before you do that, Doc, for the sake of our listeners, you just need to know that this is Dr. Emmanuel Nkhoma, a very well placed and eminent expert in the area of African leadership, especially in the African setup. He has mentored quite a number of leaders in political and governance spaces, not just in Zambia, but across. He's actually based in South Africa, has been there for the last 20 years. So he's technically a South African, very well connected to the political space in South Africa. In fact, has consulted at the highest level in that country, including at presidential level, and is a very well esteemed individual as far as the different political players in South Africa are concerned. So today we're very privileged to have him. He has mentored some of the leading politicians across the country, not just in Zambia, but in Namibia and South Africa, especially Namibia and South Africa. He might have others I'm not aware of, but Dr. Nkhoma is extremely well respected in the space of governance and leadership. And he runs an institute called the African Institute of Leadership, I think, or is it Leadership Institute? You're correct. But we are very glad to have Dr. Nkhoma today. He is actually a dear colleague and friend. But today we have them here to discuss the whole Bill 7 debacle. So Dr. Nkhoma, most welcome. And please, just do your greeting and then let's jump straight into the first question because you can see it on the screen. Over to you, Doc. There is a bit of a delay, so you will notice it will take a while before he answers.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Levra. The network is not very strong. As it is on video as well, but I think we're gonna go live just to the people of Zambia on this very candid things that have to do with governance, it's not like dealing with issues that, these are national matters, and them being national matters, we need to give them the leverance they deserve. And so thank to your audience. We will dive deep into this serious matter of Bill 7, and we are going to, I think, without us applying so much technicalities in terms of definitions and so on and so forth, but only where need be, we might have to do that. So thank you very much once again, Reverend Water, and looking forward to this great discussion.
Okay, so first, straight away, Doc, please, can you go ahead and give your view on the first question, and then I'll come behind you. So again, to those of you watching, there is a bit of a delay, so please bear with us. Over to you, Doc.
Yes, so I was looking at the statistics you were giving, and the number of days that were taken to receive the submissions. Hypothetically speaking, it looks like it would have been the issue of electronic submissions. We need also to question ourselves to say how far were these electronic submissions reached, and how far did they come from, where we have got most of our people are in rural areas or remote areas where internet is not there, where technology fails. Not to talk about the challenges that we are already having as a country, the issues of load shedding. So when you bring back the first question, and I want to address this matter subject, if we look at, was the state house consultation genuinely dialogue, or just a political theater designed?
Okay, we seem to have a challenge again with Doc there. We're not hearing
The
what he's saying. I really hope you'll be able to come through, but we seem to have lost him.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now, please try again. Yeah, you didn't get to start explaining. You disappeared.
I'm here. Can you hear me? Yes. So I was saying we need to look into the spirit, in also to look into the genuineness of the dialogue that was called upon, and what birthed this dialogue. I hope you can hear me right there. What brought in this dialogue? Was it just a political? The Zambian people are at the best place to establish, because most of the Zambians have indicated way ahead that Zambia has got a lot of challenges that we need to look more than the Constitution Amendment issue. The Constitution Amendment is not something that Zambians cannot do without. I believe that Zambians can still do so. In politics, people play a lot of jargons to try to bring about so that people do not say. So what I am questioning most is the spirit in which the process was brought about. So I'll pause it from there, Reverend. And
Okay.
I think,
No, yeah, please go on. Okay, I guess he gave me room to say.
did
Yes.
you hear me?
Well, yes, we heard you up to the point where you said, I think. So I thought maybe you were still going to say something there, or I come in.
Yeah. No, I wanted you to come in. So I was saying, I think this whole process, the program of the Constitution Amendment, the spirit is the one we are questioning. Such that has been done. It's at a open minded or openness, because the Zambian people, for now, we can do.
Okay, so my take, as the question says, was the State House consultation genuine dialogue? I am going to lean with Dr. Nkhoma's view as well, and question the spirit behind it, because let's begin with the dialogue. Remember, the reason why the whole issue came up was because Oasis Forum raised concerns and then called for a protest march, which the Clarion Call was echoed firstly by the Roman Catholic Church. So when two specific bishops, called on that, I think Bishop Chama. And so when they raised that point, then the president indicated that it's better we first meet and talk, not to go protest in the streets, which I thought was, a good idea. Yes, I don't like at all the idea of people going to march out in the streets and then the whole situation degenerating. That's never good. So the idea of calling people for dialogue was good. But then the irony is that both sides of the coin claim the others were not listening. I think when Oasis Forum came in, they were very categorical. Withdraw the process, withdraw the bill, withdraw the process. Let's sit down and work out what we feel is the best way forward. Government was like, no. You guys are already coming with a predetermined position. We want to see how we can progress. So that's where I see the deadlock. What I saw on Monday, I will be very frank, that for me was theatrics. That was, because look, first and foremost, they had to make sure they get people that are in support. That's obvious. Secondly, they had them live on television. That's obvious. So anybody who watches that process, that was marketing 101. That was propaganda, PR on steroids. That's what it was. And so we didn't hear a single person in there, go and speak against the process. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that process was highly questionable. And so when we come back to the question, was State House consultation genuine dialogue? I mean, the answer is not likely, because we've seen that already they all got into a deadlock. And I think to kind of echo what Dr. Nkhoma raised is the spirit, because for me, my whole challenge with this is the trust. We can argue all day, but just there isn't any trust. And of course, people are saying, well, who cares? You know, CSOs and pressure groups are very tiny minorities who mean nothing. But it's very ironic that we hear that now, considering that a couple of years back, that wasn't the case. These same groups which they claim are being sponsored by the PF, which is ridiculous if you ask me, but hey, let's go with the argument. All of a sudden they don't mean anything. That's really interesting. So for me, the whole spirit of the process is kind of lost. But anyway, let me see if we can go to the next question, unless Doc wants to come in with something there. So let me pause.
Sorry to come in. I want to come in right there, Reverend. Yes, I wanted to come in right there, Reverend, on the dialogue aspect. Some time now. One of the things that I have gotten to know is that in a situation where you need to dialogue, there is no party that comes with a preconceived idea. Firstly, in a normal dialogue situation, we need to understand the State House. It was advantage to presidency to demonstrate their willingness. But what I realized there, already made up, they should remember that Oasis Forum did not come there to represent one organization. It came in to represent a number of organizations and societies. And it's from those societies to question that integrities. They come from a church. They come from the civil society. They come from. They do not necessarily come from. Opportunity there was an opportunity to listen to the real voices of the Zambian people. Things at a certain level. Most students are not at the level where they can see reality and the impact thereof. So, and we can not expect students to have, forgive me,
Okay, the network is quite bad for Doc there. I don't know what's going on. I really hope you'll be able to to work it out, because we really are missing your salient points that you raise. Somebody's accusing me, saying, what are they saying? They're saying, why are you stating, okay, so let me just say it. Why are you stating your position? You should have left. Well, look, I've got my position. We're having a conversation here with Dr. Nkhoma. So this is a conversation. It's not an interview. It's not trying to be in the middle. We're giving our views and our takes. So I will give my view, and that's my position. And on the first one, that's what it is. My good brother, Brian, Coach Brian, is saying, "I told you so." Won't say anything. So let's go on and go on to the second question, because there are salient questions. So the second one is, did government lose the moral high ground by sidelining the Oasis Forum and other civic voices at the start of the process? That's a very interesting question. Now, you know, in order to understand this whole story, I don't know if people are being deliberately blind about this. Then Doc will come through and comment. But I don't know if people are being deliberately blind about this and being deliberately obtuse, or they are genuinely without knowledge. Oasis Forum did not start today. Oasis Forum started basically in 1999. Those of you who know the Zambian history will realize that the Oasis Forum was formed in 1999. And what was the issue back then? 2000, 2001. What was the issue? The issue was Chiluba's third term bid. They call it the Oasis Forum because the meeting took place at Oasis Restaurant, what is now Pangea Park. Before Pangea Park existed there by East Park and Arcades area, there used to be a restaurant called the Oasis Restaurant. So it was in that restaurant where the Oasis Forum was born. And it was basically the same conglomeration, the same groups of civil society organizations, NGOs, and pressure groups that got together to say, hey, we cannot allow this to go on. And of course, at the time, the MMD with Dr. Chiluba as president really pushed that together with, you know, the groups that were in support of that. Then there were groups that were against that. And so that led to a very interesting back and forth. And when government brought in its machinery to kind of silence that process, then it went to the Black Friday. Those who remember, you dress in black on Friday and you honk at a specific time of the day. So people don't know, but that's where the Oasis Forum began. And so it became a pressure group that would work to push the interests of what they deemed the common man with oh my God. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to put do not disturb. Let me do that right away. Let me just put that. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. So, like I was saying, they put that in place. Just give me a second. So they put that together to bring pressure upon government. So again, you know very well that they would work and raise any issue that they felt was not right. And they went on that way throughout the MMD, throughout the Patriotic Front, especially during the Edgar Lungu, era administration. We know that they really rose up again and raised quite a few things. And we know that the incumbent, the current president, actually was in support of quite a number of things that were going on. So to turn around and call them a political fringe group that is being backed by the Patriotic Front, I think is being, what's that word in English? It's being dishonest, it's being disingenuous. So this question, did the government lose the moral high ground by sidelining the Oasis Forum and other civic voices at the start of the process? I think so. I think so. It's just that in politics, in a democracy, you have dissenting voices. You have those in support, you have those not in support. In the same manner that we saw with Bill 10, we see with Bill 7. And you have those who support and those who do not support. And it's very interesting to listen to the arguments being raised now And it is almost word for word what was raised when Bill 10 was being proposed. And anyway, let me allow, so for me, they lost the moral high ground. Even if people say that the Oasis Forum are coming with an agenda, if they say that, oh, okay, now I'm seeing, so Dr. Nkhoma, let me remove the other one. Dr. Nkhoma is much clearer now, but you've got that echo, Dr. Nkhoma, so maybe you will need to mute sound or something, but I hope you can hear me in real time.
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you,
brilliant.
And
Yes,
I had to change. I had to change the gadget.
Yes, no, you did well, sir. So let me. But anyway, so my view is they lost the moral high ground because this Oasis Forum is not a new forum. The Oasis Forum was supported incumbent and the ruling party at the time, and everybody felt that they stood for what is right. In fact, there are tweets on record where the incumbent says very clearly that one does not need legislation to be right in a position. So that is something the president said, you know, when he was in opposition back in when they were fighting Bill 10. So it's very ironic to kind of put down the whole Oasis Forum and call them a pressure group with no electoral representation and basically funded by the Patriotic Front, which for me is ridiculous beyond words. But that they are funded by the Patriotic Front, and then you highlight people like Bishop Alec Banda, who is one of, I don't know, 10 different, one person coming from, one group in about 10 to 15 different groups, and he may express his own personal views, but I don't necessarily represent the views of the Oasis Forum per se. What matters here is that the moral high ground government has been lost. But let me allow Dr. Nkhoma to come in and pick on that point as well. Nice to see you clearly.
I wish to use this time to apologize with the echo that we had.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Okay. The most important thing we need to acknowledge is that the presidency is missing one point. What's the point? They are missing the point of number one, realize that the people who went to State House under Oasis Forum, they are coming from just a second, I want to it seems there's an echo again.
Okay, but on my end we are clear. We have no echo over here, so
okay, you're clear on your side.
Yes, on our side it's very clear. It's just that I'm sure on your end, because of the gadgets, probably one of them is on.
All right,
but we're good.
No, that's fine. So I was saying the Oasis Forum is not just a one-man show. They represent a constituency which represents the real people. So when you say, let's go and call for a dialogue with Oasis Forum, you must acknowledge that there is the church. And when we talk about the church, traditionally, we are talking about the mother bodies, which is the Evangelical Fellowship, the Christian Council, the Council of Bishops, and they form what is called the Oasis Forum. Now we've got the Law Association of Zambia and other civic societies. So it will be erroneous to insinuate or speak to say they are representing patriotic. No, they are representing the constituency, which is known as electorates. Let me give an example. The Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church alone, I stand to be corrected, it claims 3 million members.
Yeah, 20% of the population.
3 million members. 3 million in Zambia, the Roman Catholic Church has got an adult population of over 2 million.
That's right.
And if you have 2 million population of above 18, those can be potential voters.
That's right.
So for somebody to undermine the presence of Bishop Chama, it is erroneous. So if you are speaking to Bishop Chama, you must know potentially as a political leader, you are speaking to 2 million voters. That is the reason why I said they missed an opportunity. Let's talk about Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia. Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, with all its denomination, they also claim not less than 2 million people. 2 million people.
That's right.
Who come from different Protestant churches. The Christian Council, the same thing. Then let's talk about the Law Association of Zambia. Mm-hmm. It's from the Law Association of Zambia that we have lawyers registered and lawyers being able to be vetted, to be licensed, to say now, you are a lawyer, you are a member of the Law Association.
That's right.
So it is wrong, the morality of calling the Oasis Forum that it was a grouping of some people sponsored by the Patriotic Front. It's wrong. By the way, Reverend, let me make a statement. Legally, and I want to say this, legally, I believe in legalism sometimes. The Patriotic Front we are talking about has been held hostage by Chavinga, who claims to be in an alliance with the UPND. So
that's right.
The Patriotic Front
Doc, a number of people, sorry Doc, a number of people are commenting on the echo. So I think there is an echo. Do you have a headsets? Hopefully, or something. I think you must have two connections on, so you can switch off the other one, so that it's.
I'll try to switch on the other one.
Okay, so let's see now. So people who are watching, let us know if there's still an echo when Dr. Nkhoma speaks. If there isn't one, great. Doc, go on my end. It's clear.
I am told by my engineer here is that when I'm speaking, if you mute on your side, it will have no echo. Thank you very much. Yeah, my engineers just informed me on that. So
it's very
so in a nutshell, I am saying the Patriotic Front is in an alliance. Now I'm talking about not the Patriotic Front that they are talking about. If we are saying that the people were sponsored by the Patriotic Front, can Chavinga, who claims to be the president of the Patriotic Front, can he verify that he sponsored some people? You're going to say that he's going to say no. So where is the halabahu coming from? We need to agree that the spirit in which this dialogue was being held, it is the opposite side that had a preconceived idea. It's the opposite side. You know, in chemistry, there is what they call reversal osmosis. And this is what is happening. I have a position that I want to defend, but I want to throw it on you so that it looks like you are the one with the position. I believe the fact that Oasis Forum did not demand to say we want to see the president, Oasis Forum was given a prerogative to be at State House. And for that matter, Oasis Forum honored the decorum of State House. So in that case, I wish to say the morality of the dialogue was destroyed. And I don't think the leaders that went there went with a preconceived idea. The preconceived idea that I have to say to the nation of Zambia is that it's a clear thing. The nation has said the country can run without this Bill 7 for now. We have a lot of issues that needed to be addressed before we rush to constitutional amendments. Yeah, I'll pause there. You are still mute, Honorable Reverend.
Sorry, guys. So I'll be muting when you speak. And so, yeah, so I'm very glad that you raised these points, Doc. And my good friend, Coach Brian, says we worship HH, but I don't think I'm in that space. I'm not the type of person. Yes, I have in the past and on many occasions agreed with what they're doing, but there are areas which I have not agreed, and this is one of them. And that's why we're having this conversation. Some people are saying, no, I need to be neutral. How? We're having a conversation. I'm not anchoring Dr. Nkhoma. We are discussing the merits and demerits of whatever's going on. And did the government lose the moral high ground? A big resounding yes, they did. Because as long as this government in the past has been supported Oasis Forum, then yes, they've lost legitimacy. Because the Oasis Forum have not changed. The Oasis Forum still stand on the same issues they have stood on. As far as I'm concerned, they have always had the same language. And when historically in this country, every time a government starts to have fights with the Catholic Church, let's just be straight. Let's not even go around corners. I remember Kaunda, remember this one, Dr. Nkhoma, Kaunda with the National Mirror, Father, what was his name? Mia, that whole group, National Mirror was a publication back then, and they were very strong to a point where the government would buy all the copies and burn them and threaten them. But already they were losing ground. When the MMD was being formed, Kaunda and the UNIP government were already losing ground, because now even the Catholic Church had gone on the other side. And, they really do have clout. Again, Chiluba, we all remember the first term when he was vying for the second term. He won by a landslide. Yes, there were shenanigans here and there, and then Kaunda made a huge error. But the truth is that Chiluba in term one was very popular. So he didn't really have any people complaining. Everybody was kind of happy with Chiluba. Now, the end of second term going into the third, oh, whoa, he could feel the hate. And once again, the church stood up. Oasis Forum, they took him on. We know the story. Third group was, Rupiah Banda. And you look at Rupiah Banda, MMD, and the way they were having a go with SATA in the Patriotic Front. It was crazy. And already, again, I don't know how this works, but again, the church gravitated towards the Patriotic Front and the opposition at the time. And when he lost that election in 2008, many of you remember it was a very tense period. Thank God that he stepped in and said, no, let's accept the result. We have 2011. But you can see that again, the church went that side. So again, Patriotic Front under Edgar Lungu. Again, we see the same story. Church goes on the other side. And I cannot believe, as someone who actually supports this government, I cannot believe that they've gotten to a place where they're at loggerheads with the Catholic Church. Unheard of. If you get to that stage.
Just on that point, Reverend. The morality of the ecclesia, the Catholic Church, the morality is what most politicians do not wish to appreciate. In the time of KK, the Roman Catholic Church stood with the Zambian people. They did not stand with UNIP. UNIP did not want to go to democracy and multipartyism. It never wanted. But the church spoke. They looked at the injustices. They looked at what was going wrong in the country. And it is from there that the Roman Catholic Church stands out even today. Fast track the tape. Do you know that when President Hakainde Hichilema was incarcerated, Archbishop Alik Banda, time and again, condemned the action of President Edgar Lungu. The Archbishop of Chipata, the same thing. It is the Roman Catholic Church that stood out. Facts are there. Now, I want to say this quickly and say why people should understand this. And colleagues, and I want to speak even to those who come from other denominations and institutions. I heard one of the people who spoke very arrogantly on the following day against the Catholic priests. He may not have mentioned as a Catholic priest, but we all know, we are adults enough, that his statement was directed towards the Catholic priests. To say, I'm coming from a home where I've got children. Now, let me make this statement. The same man who came in the court as a bishop this time, in 2019, he was at State House with President Edgar Lungu as the president of the Emeralds, as a mine craftsman, as a businessman. Now, Mr. President, Your Excellency, His Excellency, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, can we remind ourselves then? This is the same man who is now standing with a microphone, who was in the same podium just 4 years ago as a businessman. Now he has changed the court and he's standing as a bishop. So we must check. But Archbishop Alik Banda stood as an archbishop in 2017 as a bishop, spoke against the injustices that were happening against President Hakainde Hichilema. And today, when we hear Bishop Chama from Kasama coming in the name of God, we must know that they are speaking for the people. They are speaking for the nation. It simply entails that the people, we cannot all voice out, Reverend Water. The people speak through leaders that we have confidence in. And as the Catholic Church, or as the Christians, when our bishops speak, it means we have spoken. So I wanted just to give that reminder. It's only the Catholic Church, and these are the things that I want to bring to the table again today. It's only the Catholic Church that has got its own embassy of Vatican, the Holy See. Now, do you know that we have the embassy of the Holy See in Zambia? Which church is recognized by the United Nations, if not the Catholic Church? So these our pastors who are uttering certain statements, they must understand the depth Now, culturally and morally, that bishop who spoke, the bishop businessman who spoke those words, has not been reprimanded by the decorum of State House. The political advisors were supposed to come sharp and say, no, we do not stand with that position. We do not stand with that position. But the fact that everybody was clapping, everybody was laughing, it simply affirms the statement. And that is very dangerous. So, in conclusion on that matter of dialogue, in conclusion of did they come in the spirit to reconcile, did they come in the spirit to speak for the people, I believe that we could not have a better representation than the Oasis Forum. And now that it has gone to Parliament, and that's where I want us to bring it to. Now that it has gone to Parliament, look at the speed. It was on Friday. I want to count this thing. It was on Friday. We had Oasis Forum on the 28th. A day just after that, you say we have got the youths and we've got the church. And we unfortunately, funny enough, we had even leaders who traveled all the way from the Copper Belt and everywhere. So meaning that these things were planned for. They had already, the following day, were already there at State House. And they were there to sing praises and dance. These are the same. And unfortunately, you can change your language, Reverend Water, but your face cannot change. These are the same bishops and reverends who sang Christians for Lungu. These are the same ones who were shouting, Lungu is the only anointed. These are the same ones who were cheating President Lungu. And President Lungu, when he lost power, they ran away from him. But today, we wish to put it on record on this platform to the nation of Zambia that Mwambazi Zambia, let's open our eyes and look at what the nation is saying. So the following day, we had the students, and this is my point. The students that we had from the universities, institutions of higher learning, 75%, if not 80%, they will not even vote. The real youths are in Kanyama. The real youths are in Chivolia. The real youths are in Kimikeche in Northwestern Province. The real youths are in Shangombo. The real youths are in Chama. The real youths are in Chikalawa village in Eastern Province. Could those youths speak the same language with those young people who are shouting? Lastly, President indicated and he said, we don't like protesting, or we don't like marches, or we don't like the streets. But the following day, we saw in Southern Province where people marched. Is that not hypocritical? Let me remind Zambia on this point. In about 2004, 2005, my memory serves me, there was what we had as the Mungomba Constitutional Review Commission. When the Mungomba released its draft constitution, there were clauses that were there, and the Zambian people were not happy. I remember I flew from South Africa to Lusaka, sat down with certain legal minds, and I personally, that time Remy Kajoba was the police division commander for Lusaka district. I went to his office. In my name, I collected the police clearance for march against President Wanawasa and against Mungomba, William Mungomba's Constitutional Review Commission. We marched from the High Court. that time the Supreme Court, up to the Freedom Statue, they asked me if there will be property that will be damaged, who will be liable? I lifted up the hand and I said, I will be liable. And there was no property that was damaged. We marched. And guess what? President Mwambazi called us to State House after we marched. He asked us, he asked me at that time, he says, we told the president what we wanted and he adhered. By the time the submissions were made, he says, collect petitions. He was a lawyer. He said, collect petitions. We collected over 10,000 signatures and we presented them before William Nkhoma. And when we presented them before William Nkhoma, what we demanded was given. The demands of the Oasis Forum have not been heard. Simply means the demand of the Zambian people have not been heard. Now it is in Parliament. And the question that we must ask ourselves here is, will our members of Parliament, represent the true Zambian people? Nensala ilikom Zambia. No rupina twakwata. Will the members of Parliament defend the Zambian people before their political aspiration? That's the question that we have.
And on that note, Doc, that's where that third question comes in. There's something there that Brian Matambo has said. You can read it for yourselves. I will not read it out, but there's been rumors that have been flying left, right, and center alleging this. And you see, this is where my argument still comes in again. The trust. This whole process has lost the greatest currency it required, which is trust. Now, the question is, are the parliamentarians really going to stand? As we all remember, in the previous administration, the parliamentarians that belonged to the UPND just stayed away. That was the easiest method they used. They stayed away. They didn't go to parliament. And so that was a clever way of avoiding being seen to vote or not vote. And because that number, made it impossible to have the 2/3 majority, obviously that's how the whole thing fell through. And I think the strategy that was utilized by the UPND then was to say, in case people were paid, in case individuals were persuaded or compromised, let's just all not go there. And that's a clever strategy, because then if there was anybody that was compromised, showing up to parliament would have been an obvious. So not showing up became a clever ploy used to ensure that those who were compromised and those who were not, those who supported and those who did not, were all asked not to go there by leadership of the UPND at the time. And so we find ourselves in a very similar situation. A lot of rumors have gone around. People are not trusting the process. People are not trusting the parliamentarians, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. And so the big question now is, can we have parliamentarians who can actually stand and veto by not, supporting this particular, motion? I don't know, but I can tell you that the trust is gone. The rumors are high. It was President HH, that time in opposition, who said, when something is good, you don't need to market it. It will market itself. Those were his words. But I think the amount of dust that's been raised by this tells me there's a problem somewhere. And one cannot argue and say, no, but this is because it's going to be good for the... That's the same arguments that were raised before. And so in my understanding, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of distrust. Let's just be honest here. There's a lot of distrust with the parliamentarians today. There's a whole cross-section of people who do not believe that those parliamentarians can do anything. And I think one thing that Dr. Nkhoma, you raised, which I think is very vital, you talked about the Chavinga scenario. And this Chavinga situation reminds me of MMD, literally same playbook, because MMD had Dr. Mumba as the legitimate president. But what happened to MMD? No, the Patriotic Front sponsored another group, which was the Nakachinda group with the Felix Mtatis and what have you. And so there were two parallel MMDs. And even, here's the funny part, Dr. Nkhoma, even when the law enforcement and the courts declared that that group was illegal, this is the legal group, Abena Mumba, it didn't make any difference because the Patriotic Front continued to sponsor the Nakachinda faction right through and made it so difficult for Dr. Mumba and his group to do anything. And of course, there are groups that say that was with the behest of the late President Rupia Banda, God rest his soul. But that was what was going on. And so it isn't without a sense of irony that the Patriotic Front are getting a full dose of their own medicine. But what obviously now becomes worrying is what will happen at Parliament. Is it the Chavinga faction? Is it the Mundubile faction? Which faction is even running? I don't even know. I lost track of who's in charge of what. And the whole thing now means that that group, which is the most formidable group, the Patriotic Front group, is in a bit of a quagmire. So maybe, Doc, I'll allow you to comment. Then we quickly go to the fourth question. Over to you, Dr. Nkhoma.
Yeah, so in terms of and I will not take very long on commenting on the parliament and the processes of parliament, which are very tricky to look at. Earlier on in the day, I was just looking at the list of the people or the members of parliament that they are saying will be sitting on the committee that is looking at this whole process. You would love to appreciate that these are 70% of the members of parliament who they are saying have compromised. Okay, they are saying have compromised. So the issue here of them representing the real people, because remember, if you are representing the real people, you have to come from your constituency. You have to speak for your constituency. So you are going to look at it and discover that the team that will deliberate on this matter, if they have got what we call compromised characters or they are questionable characters, then there is a big danger. There is a big danger. And the danger there is that they might again push an agenda that is already known. Now, here is a problem. The question that has been asked is that if you are saying we don't need Bill 7 to go through, what is wrong in Bill 7? Can you tell us? And that is the question that has been raised. Can you tell us what is wrong with Bill 7? Now, I did not want on this discussion. On this discussion, I did not want to become very. I did not want to become.
You know what? Sorry, Doc. Sorry to come in. On that issue of the Bill 7, I have a video which is about 10 minutes long. This video is very good. I want to play it at this point because it will really hit home. This is an interview that was between Costa Mwansa as the anchor at Diamond TV with the Minister of Justice, and he took her to task to explain a few anomalies. And I think this video is so pertinent because now that you've raised what you've raised, I think I want us to play that video, my doctor, so that people see for themselves. Because the fourth question says, why does Bill 7 feel like deja vu? A recycled playbook from the Bill 10 debacle. So rather than do this or rather than us talk, let me use this video because Costa really asked pertinent questions and quoted. It's a pity I couldn't get the full video, but it's a very justified 10 minutes. Everybody who watches this will agree. So we'll just mute our mics, Doc, and then we will watch. It will appear on screen and we'll watch. Then from there, I want you to now come in. You, Doc, you'll start, then I'll come afterwards. So let's just go to the video. Give me a second. You know these technical things, Chief. Okay, here it is. Oh, where's the video now? Okay, there it is. So let me mute and then we'll get in.
But this is what you said was okay with you when you were in opposition. This is what you said as UPND. You said you saw nothing wrong. It was okay.
Well,
so what has changed now? How does it suit you?
The president having said that, and I'll leave you to have that conversation with him. But where
it's there, Minister.
Again,
it's there, and it's on record.
I will not argue with what is on record.
And in fact, not the president. You rejected Bill 10. Clause 11, which stated this as UPND. Why now do you support it?
I think we did say no to a few clauses, not just that one. But the reason why where I'm sitting, especially as Minister of Justice now, I have a more bifocal lens, I guess, if you may call it that, to look at it to say this can disrupt the nation's security. This can put us in a situation where a president can continue using that system, or just people who are.
So you didn't see it back then?
Well, I wasn't Minister of Justice.
No, but as an MP, okay. you were in Parliament.
I was in Parliament.
You didn't see this then?
Well, I didn't say it personally. I have to accept that if I'm going to be honest. But where I'm sitting from right now, that is a gap that we need to fix.
So you agree that as UPND, you threw the baby with the bathwater in terms of Bill 10 because you were rejecting it because it was a PF bill and not because you were genuinely, as people's representatives, looking for what is good and bad out of that constitution?
You know what? I have tried to read some of what we said no to and why we felt that it wasn't the time for us to agree to that. What you need to remember is that UPND government were part of the conversations in the beginning. What we did disagree upon, that time we were in opposition, I should say, UPND party, it is the things as they progress. We thought that there were a lot of things being added to the bill, which I may not even have the capacity to go through in this evening. So really, I think it is important that sometimes you may look at things differently, and when you sit in another angle, you look at things differently.
So what are you telling? What are you telling? What are you telling?
Is this a good thing?
What are you telling the people of Zambia tonight, when we have to save every little coin towards development? We spent money on Bill 10. You rejected it. You're bringing the same bill years later. What are you telling them has changed? It is the same bill.
It is not the same bill.
This proposal is similar.
Contentious issues, if we look at them objectively.
But you're trying to revise what Bill 10 was trying to revise.
I don't think so. I think there is some departure in some things. You just alluded to the issue of the Constitution, the delimitation, because that delimitation
but this
was not part of it.
This one on 52.6 was in Bill 10. The reintroduction of members of parliament into council, it was in Bill 10 under clause 52 of Bill 10. It was there. You look at the issue of providing for the hearing and determination of an election petition. It was in Bill 10 under clause 30. So
I don't remember that one, but I could be wrong because you have the cited.
Yes, it was providing for the hearing and determination of an election petition. The Constitution in Article 73, 101. So we're talking about the time frame, so that what happened in 2016 does not repeat itself.
Yes, exactly.
But even Bill 10, was saying let's amend this in clause 30. So you're bringing the same things back. Harmonization of the term of office for member of parliament. Clause 22 of Bill 10 had the same. But this is the same Bill 10 you had rejected.
Did they have the term limit for the mayors? Did they have the issue of the Attorney General and the Secretary General?
No,
I'm just asking you.
Those are new things.
Did we have the definition of the child which has create inconsistency? I'm just saying there is also a
the removal of the term limit for the office of mayor. Yes, this proposal was equally part of Bill 10 of 2019.
I don't remember it.
It was there.
I don't remember it.
Because you didn't even want to read it. You didn't want to read it,
Minister. The point is, I am seated in a position where I am forced to read the Constitution.
No,
at least for me.
The question for the people of Zambia is
to say why things that are non-contagious.
Why are you bringing back the same things which you rejected just a few years ago?
Then they make
now
sense.
They make sense because you're in power?
No, because you know what? The Constitution is a live document. Because just because they were not as live or as needed as then.
But what Bill 10 was trying to amend was that Constitution that you have.
Absolutely. And they didn't garner the support. So now we are also saying.
But you're party to the problem because you rejected the same things you're bringing back,
I don't think
Minister.
So.
How does your position change now that you're in power?
Well, first of all, I feel that some of the issues, especially an issue like the quota system or affirmative action, whatever system will come to, is very critical. For me, you are asking me or you're asking the party. But I am saying, as a Minister of Justice, as someone who has advocated for women inclusion in governance and in political space, that is a very critical issue for me. As a member of Parliament...
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, absolutely.
As a person who sat in Parliament prior to 2021, didn't Bill 10 have any proposals towards proportional representation?
Yeah, it did have.
It did have.
It did have, absolutely. But also we did have things that we did not agree upon.
So if it did have, if it did have,
yes,
as a gender activist, why did you not support it?
Because it had other things which we didn't agree upon. And
which you decided to lock yourselves at Community House and not represent the voices of the people of
By the way, no one was locked at Community House. People wanted to be there because they were agreeing upon.
Was it what the people of Kembe told you to do? That when you debate a constitution on our behalf, you should lock yourself somewhere and not participate in either voting for or not on behalf of the people?
Can I correct the impression of locking? You cannot lock anyone against their will. That would be unlawful.
Okay, absconding.
Okay? Yeah,
absconding by going to Community House.
We chose to make sure that we were together so that we agree on the terms that we agreed upon. Now, I've told you, maybe there is a way of reckoning. It's time for reckoning. Whatever is good that was in Bill 10, we are not ashamed to say it can show itself.
So you're apologizing to the Zambian people that you're now hypocrites who are trying to play different. Because there was proportional representation in Bill 10.
No, just because there were some bills which are found in the commissioner's reports, just because they also came in. By the way, let's give credit where it's due. Even them, they did look at some of these commissions.
What was bad in the proportional representation being proposed in Bill 10?
What I remember, I personally, from a very limited interaction that I had at that time, because I wasn't in this position, so I didn't pay as much attention maybe I should have. It's because I believe that there was more of things added which we were not agreeing upon.
For example?
For example, I think one of the allegations, which I actually went and checked this time around, was the issue that the same argument people were giving us is that the term of the president was going to expand. And now because I'm able to go back to the Constitution, and I got to Bill 10, I said, can you show me where it says, or can I see where it says, because I'm not seeing it, and they were saying it's in Article 30, that the president also wanted the term to be expanded. That was President Lungu then. I didn't find it. So from where I was sitting from, as a person who has believed strongly in good governance, I was saying, why would we want to go back there when we are just coming from a one-party state and now we are saying we are a democratic state? So I think even this time, Costa, my encouragement to the Zambian people, let's read the Constitution. Because if I also had done a good job, maybe I would argue in a much better manner. That is why we have said these are only provisions. Let laws respond. Let people interact. You question people like me and bring others as well who disagree, who agree, so that we see
so you took a political party line rather than a view of the people on issues that you're now bringing back, because you didn't fully read. You admit.
First of all,
you didn't fully read. You didn't fully understand.
When did we have the referendum as well? That was another issue.
In 2016,
yes.
it was voted down.
Yes, because
and you had an NDF where people's representatives were represented, and that matter came to you as parliamentarians to finally enact it as per the process.
Absolutely, and we didn't agree upon certain things. I think what is important even here, it is to give credit. In the same vein, we are going to go through that process. If the PF people do not agree, or the PF representative, on behalf of their people, they have the right to say no.
And this is where
this has to be agreed upon
this is where I was reading this, that for 30 years we've been going to back and forth. You've mentioned the commissions.
That is the point.
That process must protect affect content.
Yes.
Why should we let a handful of people, 150 of you, that we voted into office to represent us, and then when you go around consultations and we the people submit, then you come again to open this document and begin to disagree with what we the people have told you we want?
Oh.
Brilliant, brilliant, eh? Doc, over to you.
I don't know what to say. you know, Coach, I don't know what to say. But when you listen to my good sister there, Princess Kasune Zulu, a woman that is very brilliant. I remember having interactions with her in the years of advocacy for HIV and AIDS and stuff like that. I have never had an encounter with her when she became a politician. But from the political aspect where I stand, yeah, she had a lot of knuckles to take, and she just preempts what is this whole Bill 10 all about. That it clearly shows that it's a political agenda, not a national agenda.
And for me, Doc, oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Please continue.
Yeah, so as I was saying, that it shows that it's a political agenda which seeks to satisfy a political ambition. That is why they are saying, she is saying, we voted against Bill 10 when we were in opposition. Now, I see things the way I did not see them. I did not read. Come on. You are a member of parliament sent by your people, and you don't read, and you are getting paid? Come on.
You see, sorry, Doc, let me even come in there now. Because do you know that Parliament actually has members of Parliament have at their disposal two groups. They have what they call research, and they have committees, and their staff whose job is to ensure they provide all relevant information to the members of Parliament to ensure that when they go to stand at that podium to speak on behalf of the people they represent, they do it from a place of knowledge. Now, to hear her say they didn't read is very interesting. And you see, further on, I mean, to kind of, reiterate your point also, Doc, is the fact that these people have literally added almost everything that was in Bill 10 to this Bill 7. And then now you're going to say we are being unreasonable when we see deja vu. For me, from where I am, this is deja vu. This is like, am I dreaming? Didn't we go through this before? This is exactly what I'm saying, down to the last. I mean, the other day, I'll tell you, the other day I saw someone quoting the late Tinto Ngulube. What was the name of that MP, the lawyer from Kabwe who passed on? I've forgotten his name, something Ngulube. They were literally quoting him as he was defending the whole Bill 10 proposal. And now they're doing it as UPND. I mean, I was like, okay, this is bad. I mean, this is animal farm, because there's no way with the amount of demonization Bill 10 got for them to even be using excuses that Ngulube raised, when he was supporting Bill 10. Let me stop there so that if you have anything to say, you say, then we move on.
All right. I got provoked, really. I'm sorry to say this to your audience and to the people, to forgive me, because politically, what Princess Kasune demonstrated is such level of ignorance. And how can a minister of justice who is supposed to be a custodian of all the records of legalities, come out and say, I did not read. Now, now they are again going to vote in Parliament on this same matter of Bill 7. Where are we going to get the confidence that they have read this document? What guarantee do we have that those sitting on the committee have read, or they are sitting there just to wait for salaries? That shows the level of our members of parliament. It's a shame on us as Zambia. It's a shame to have such kind of a people in government. It's a shame. It's a shame. And we can do better. 60 years of independence, we can do better. We can do better. Now, let me quote something. There is something here that I'm looking at the Bill 7 itself, because they may be saying we are arguing and without reading. What is it that is in Bill 7? I want to read one article, or one, it's in the amendment of Article 47. And this clause, Article 47, in section, in here, it says, the number A, let me read A. A says, deletion of clause 2 and the substitution thereof, the following. 2, elections to the National Assembly shall be conducted under a mixed member proportion. Representation electoral system as follows. A, first past, first post electoral system for members of parliament contesting for constituency-based seats. 2, then it says proportional representation, well, that's B, proportional representation electoral system for women, youths, and persons with disability as prescribed. Now, I want to focus on the last part, which says women, youths, and persons with a disability. This is the one that hypnotized those youths who were saying Commander Kwishiba, whatever they were saying. This is what hypnotized them. But let's look at, have we spoken about what type of youths are we talking about? What type of youths are we talking about? It has not been discussed. Then let's talk about disability. Let's talk about disability. Representation of people with disability. Academically, disability must be defined. Are we talking about physical disability? Are we talking about mental disability? Are we talking about capacity disability? Are we talking about intellectual disability? Because if we say people with disability, then we are talking about the word proportion. Proportion here meaning ratio must balance. It means, like in them chimba, so that maybe some people can understand. It simply means ngature votere mpofu, tufire to wade mpofu ishiri 10. Ni ishiri mpofu ishiri 10. Ngature votere bachiburu. Bachiburu abashiranda, the people who don't talk, bachiburu abali 10. Then we have got those people Nkhoma Matwi who don't hear, 10. Then what about people with one hand, one leg? So this already is what we call lacunas or misnomers. These are misnomers where you are thinking you have understood. We are putting people with disability. The following day, you go to social welfare. Department of Social Welfare, you go there, you find, today you find blind people contesting. Not about it, the second day you find the blind people are standing there. The other day you find crippled people are saying nobody's looking at our cause. So what do we mean? So these are issues that we must look at. What about we talk about women? What if the women themselves are not ready to contest? Are you going to force them? Stand, be a member of parliament. We can look at it and say, in the UPND itself, in the top 6 or the top 8 leaders, how many women do they have? How many women do they have? So we should not be hypocritical and say everything is okay. There are many issues here. We can look at the issue of by-elections, and then we can look at the issues of saying, okay, there will be deployment of members of parliament, that they should be elected from within the party. They should be deployed, the deployment systems, so that we avoid spending of by-elections. It sounds good, but can I tell you this? This is what has caused killings in countries such as South Africa. This is why people fight in order for them to be nominated. Can't we learn from there? Then it demeans the independency. What about those who want to stand as independent candidates? Because we are focusing on partisan politics here, and we are not seeing that there are dangers that are to this Bill 7 as we may try to promote it. Now, then let's look at the other part that I want to comment on, because we are saying, what are the things that we should look at? I don't want to be like those ministers or MPs. I'm not standing here as a politician. I'm speaking from a scientific perspective. Looking at this document, it needed enough time. It needed enough time for the nation to digest. I talk about the Great Britain every time. Do you know the Great Britain, until now, they are still refining their constitution, and they have developed, they are running, the government is moving. What is this thing that makes us as Africans to rush so much for documents and not development? Your Excellency,
sorry. I was gonna say well said, but please finish.
I feel. Let us rush for development than document. Let me pause there.
No, for sure, Doc. What you raised for me is absolutely paramount. I mean, suffice to say, we have shown that the trust process is lost. But even the process itself is also lost. And I like what Costa says. You do not want to compromise process in the name of content. No. You want to ensure the process is right. And already these issues that were raised are so cardinal. And I mean, we cannot run away from the fact, Dr. Nkhoma, that you've raised. This issue of the proportional representation. You know, it sounds like in America they had what they call DEI, which of course Trump came and trashed. But DEI personally did not support it, because DEI said you need to have the gays in there because they are a portion. You need to have the minority races because they are a portion. So in the process of doing all that, what are you doing? You are throwing out merit for representation. So at the end of the day, you bring in a person because they are black. You bring in a person because they are, transgender. You bring in a person because they are from some minority group out there. But this person has no capacity to perform. They can't. You're putting them there literally because they meet a number. And that's where people like Charlie Kirk were even misunderstood, because Charlie Kirk said you cannot put a pilot that's black because they are black. No, put a pilot because they know their job. Oh, of course, they completely misconstrued what he said. But this is what is now being proposed in that thing. Me, I completely do not support it. Let people be elected on merit. If somebody is a blind member of parliament and they speak well and they have proven to be articulate, they prove they are worthy to the constituents and is elected, for me, that's a plus. Not somebody is picked because, no, we need 2 blind people, we need 20 women, we need, that's where you end up with people that cannot perform. And of course, you and I both agree, Doc, that the whole process was not even clarified. So we don't even know what criteria they'll be using, hence the term lacuna. But let me bring another one also, which is a very serious one. It's this thing of the numbers, the one that What's that thing where they were saying they're going to delimit? Last I checked, correct me. Last I checked, the delimitation report was top secret. It was given directly to President Lungu, and I do not think that document was made public. Now, I stand to be corrected. So we have people watching who are competent, who are knowledgeable. They will correct me. But I know that that document was not clarified. So meaning that process is still not very clear. Yes, there's delimitation, but how? Which constituencies? Which are going to be divided? In what manner? You know, there was quite a bit there that was not clarified, and that obviously becomes another question, because will the delimitation be done in the strongholds of the ruling party, or will they be done proportionately across the country? I did not hear anything clarifying that, and that for me becomes another very contentious issue. And remember, from delimitation, you also have the percentage, isn't it, of nominated MPs. Now, that percentage, again, is contentious, because if this delimitation is focused on the strongholds of the ruling party, and then you've also got the nominated MPs, they move from 10 to I don't know what number, the whole thing is going to skew everything towards the ones in charge. And you know, let me close with this, and then Doc, you can come in with your expertise. The irony about life is none of us can see the future. We can guess, but we cannot see the future. Imagine this whole document is pushed through. And then, irony of ironies, this current government loses. So the ones who come in now come with this new bill, and then they take advantage now of the whole thing. I mean, that would be a classic shooting yourself in the foot. So for me, I'm with you when you say it's being rushed. It needs to be chilled. They need to wait. Let's go through the elections, and then let's give this document time. This is the constitution, as they say. This is the constitution we're talking about here. This is not just some document. So let it be given the thorough time and process, so that everybody is agreeing, yes, we endorse this. This process is right. Over to you, Doc.
Correctly so, Reverend Water, the issue of delimitation seems to keep coming up. I am privileged that at least I've traversed the country of Zambia. I've been to a number of districts. I've been to almost all the 10 provinces of the country, and I know how vast certain constituencies are. I know how huge Kanchivia, for example, how big Kanchivia could be. I know how big certain constituencies, when you look at Mwandi constituency, how big Mwandi is. I know constituencies as Chama South or Chama North, how big they are. But here is technically how a delimitation must be done. Delimitation does not come about by growth or by the size, the demographic size of the land. No. Delimitation comes with the growth of the population. So you only go with delimitation when you look at statistical growth. As Zambia grows, then you need to look at delimitation. If I have to give an example of Kanyama constituency in Lusaka, it's got more than 100,000 voters. But in terms of the margins, Kanyama constituency is not as big as Msanzala constituency. When you look at the size of, for example, a Mandevu constituency, is not as big as Kanchibia. What will delimitation do? Now, if we are going, we need to delimitate or to divide these constituencies. We need then to focus on these constituencies with high numbers or high statistics. We cannot say Southern Province or Eastern Province, their constituencies are very big. Iteji, for example, it's very huge. There are places where there are no roads. But when you look at the population, it cannot be compared to Kitwe Central or to Nkana constituency. So, if delimitation will be enacted, that is the focus where it must be. The focus must focus on that where you have a huge population. That's how delimitation is done. But beyond that, you will discover that if delimitation will focus on the size of the land, then it does not save the purpose it's meant for. Lastly, we need to also look at what is the impact of delimitation. Remember, at one point in Zambia, we used to have deputy ministers. And the issue of deputy ministers was removed. Why was it removed? It was removed because of the national budget. Let's not lie about our economic status in the world. We are not a first world country. So we looked at how much these deputy ministers were consuming. We said, let's scrap it out. Then we looked at the bloated cabinets. What did we do? We decided to say, let's reduce it. In this case, we have already, is it 158 members of parliament plus those that are appointed?
Yes.
And out of that, in every number of elected members of parliament, there is a 5%, which is a prerogative of the president. He must appoint the 5%. So in this case, if, let's say, hypothetically so, I am not saying that's what has been proposed unless that is what has been proposed. Let's say we are having 66 seats added onto the current parliament. That is already more than 200 members. Let's look at the national budget in terms of salaries. Number one. Before we get to salaries, let's talk about sitting allowances. Before we talk about sitting allowances, let's talk about the privileges that these members of parliament, they get. Then let's talk about their gratuities. In a country that we are saying we are indebted, we have been talking about debt restructuring. We are not talking about we have cleared the debt. We are saying restructuring, meaning we are still owing. Come on, guys. On borrowed money, then we want to increase members of parliament? No. I think you who have been mandated to represent us, as this matter comes into your hands, do the honorable thing for the Zambian people. Do the honorable thing. Increasing the elite does not mean equal representation. Increasing the elite, and when I mean the elite, let's look at the quality of members of parliament that we bring in. We bring in people who we have heard time and again, once they are elected, They are never seen in their constituencies. They are seen after 5 years. And meaning that their agendas are different. For example, you heard for yourself where Honorable Minister made a confession on Costa's channel when she was asked, why did you reject Bill 10? She said, I never read certain clauses. Imagine we want to increase those who will go to parliament and sleep and get a salary for sitting there, watching the roof and counting the globes in the sky. And we said delimitation. I think Zambia, we can do better. I know I love my president, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema. So they cannot say I'm speaking against him. I love him dearly. That's why we defended him. That's why we wanted him in the office. But this matter that we are talking about, this issue we are bringing about, that is why they needed to hear the voice of reason when Oasis Forum came in. Some of us, when we speak not just from the books, but we speak because we know that there is only one country we shall call home. There is only one country that God stopped creating other countries. And I want to say to these bishops who want to cause confusion, let me say this. When you start a religious conflict, it's worse than a political conflict. For politicians, I've worked with politicians. In public, you can disagree, but at night, we sit and drink whiskey and talk together and laugh. When you, the religious people, fight, go and ask in the northern part of Nigeria. See what has happened there several times. You will see how dangerous a statement from a religious leader can be. And I wish to call upon that bishop with all integrity to the office of the bishop. He must apologize to the nation of Zambia for insulting not only the Catholic Church, but for insulting men and women who God has not granted them to have children. They did not wish, but these are credible men. I know Pentecostal bishops who don't have children. I know charismatic bishops who don't have children. And I also know some of the men out there who boast that I have children, and they are not really their children. So we wish to ask him to retract, to apologize unconditionally, to keep Zambia as a safe haven, as a country of peace that we all have. For the matter of Bill 7, I wish to request, we are on our knees. Your Excellency, your honorable members of parliament, do the honorable thing. Listen to the voice of reason.
Well said, Doc. Question 6, does Bill 7 strengthen democracy, or does it entrench elite-driven constitutional engineering at the expense of ordinary citizens? I actually believe you answered it in your previous monologue just now. You literally answered that question, because that's exactly what you implicated. You stated that, look, elitism is what this is. And I have to also echo and agree with you that when you're a country like Zambia without enough money, there is absolutely no justifiable, and that's why I'm shocked. There is no justifiable reason for us to be amending the constitution at this juncture. Absolutely none. And you remember, we must never forget that Zambia is on 3 hours of power a day right now. So the ordinary people out there are feeling this power deficit. We are feeling it. And if we were, you know, me and you here, we are elitists, so we can get inverters, we can get solar. But how many people can do that? You know, and then what about the guys who are actually doing the welding and the works out there in the compounds and in the industrial areas? What's the situation like? So we don't have enough money as it is to be splurging on an entire cabinet out there. But let's go to question 7 as we wind up. Look at that question, Doctor, and then you answer it. I'll come after you. Will history remember this moment as a turning point for Zambia's democracy or as another tragic betrayal of the people's voice? I think that's a heavy closing question, because history has a way of judging. Posterity judges. If I go back in my mind, I remember Chiluba and his third term bid. It was quite sad, and he in the end backed out, but that had already ruined his very good, you know, he came in with very goodwill, I must say. Even going into the second term, he went in with very goodwill. That's why he won the way he won. I mean, there was the Mwambazi and everything, but they did not win. And then Kaunda made that fatal decision of pulling UNIP out of the... But by the time she was going into that 2000, 2001, he really had lost popularity, and it's very sad that he ended up going through the hell he went through under Monawasa. But you can see such a terrible thing going on because of that. And history judged Chiluba very harshly, very harshly. I mean, those of us who have done a lot of studies on Chiluba, we realize that a lot of the things they said he did, he didn't do. But unfortunately, that's history for you. History is not forgiving. We currently have a situation where our current head of state is, our previous head of state is still not buried. You know, that's terrible. That's terrible. So you get to a point where you start asking, is it history judging him? Is it posterity judging him? Why would we have such a terrible situation where a former serving president, 6 months, is not buried? I mean, that's just depressing. But you know what, I'll tell you, at the risk of being shot, sometimes history will judge you. Posterity will judge you. And the problem is posterity can judge very harshly. I pray that this administration does not get judged badly. But let me allow you, Doc, to come in.
It's an area where we have to look into and say, what is legacy? You know, I was teaching. I think you know that I'm always lecturing. And I was in a class teaching leadership. And there is a course called Leadership Agility. So they asked me a question: what is legacy? And I had no better explanation to give to what legacy is. I said, legacy is it's the smell you leave when you use the toilet. You have flushed everything. You have sprayed everything. And I said, legacy is the smell you leave when you use the toilet. It sounds to be harsh. Now, let me say this. From a governance perspective, governance is not easy. Running a country, it's not easy. Being in opposition is very different with being in authority or in power. When you look at the reason why the Minister of Justice gave so much ignorance to us when those questions were fired to her, she went mambo jumbo here and there. It is because now she even confessed that I was not in the position where I am in. Now, You see, at that point and at that particular moment, she could not see things as they were. Now that she is in authority, the reality has dawned. And when reality hits home, that's when you realize that leadership is not easy. Now, allow me to state categorically there, Reverend, that it is at that point when you leave the stage, then they'll say, we had. Let me say this. No matter how much we love to stay in power, and I've said this thing to many politicians, and with due respect, God has graced me to meet with a number of leaders at high level. One day, you will be called former. In this case, Zambia does not have a former president. And whether we, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, the next former president that we are about to have, or which we will have, is President HH. Whether he's going to be former president next year, or he's going to be former president after 2031, we don't know. But one day, he will be former. The MPs that are in authority today, that are in power, and I'm advocating in this Bill 7, one of the things they were supposed to look at was to reduce, to bring a term system for MPs. It's not there. Why should MPs be there forever, whilst mayors can only serve for 2 terms? So we need to introduce the terms for MPs, because some of the MPs have been there for more than 20 years and they are useless. They have exhausted all their ideas and they cannot do anything. They are sitting there as chiefs. They have become indunas. They even boast, I am the oldest member of parliament. They even boast, I have been here, I'm the longest. Yet you are the longest, but done nothing. History, books of history are always being written. And in this case, we have set a very bad precedent as a country in history. In the last few years, we are the only country that has recorded in Southern Africa failing to reconcile, and the issue of mediation has failed again on the issue of barring the former head of state. It's an embarrassment, and it has showed how we have failed to dialogue. The first dialogue that failed, you saw the impulse. The second dialogue that has failed, the constitutional issue. These are serious matters that we shouldn't take for granted as a country. And history will judge us harshly. And you MPs who are sellouts, let me speak to MPs that may be sellouts. Please, you were not voted only by your political party. You were voted by the citizens of your constituency. You were voted by the people. I always say, we voted for President Hakainde Hichilema as a country, and we gave him a chance to be the president of Zambia, not of UPND only. He already has been a member, a president of UPND for a long time, but he has now been given the mandate to be the president of the country. And therefore, what he must look at is, when I leave this seat, what will the nation smell? Will they say we are the worst president or we are the best president? And that is my submission on the legacy and also on history. But let us watch out and let's be very careful that we don't.
Absolutely well said, Doc. I really agree with you, and you could not give a much better sum up of the whole issue of legacy, because indeed legacy is the aroma and essence you leave after you've gone. So what is that going to look like? And look, let me also be on record. I always do this because many people misunderstand my position. I, like you, really love this current president, and I really think there's credit to be given to him. There are things, I mean, the biggest plus in my books is stemming the runaway inflation, bringing all our financial issues into check, debt renegotiations. This was horrendously difficult to do. And kudos to the Minister of Finance and his entire team in that space for even getting us upgraded on Standard & Poor's. A lot of people don't understand what that means. That means our letters of credit in this country can hold water out there. People don't understand that there are certain levels of businesses where you need a letter of credit issued by a local bank to an international organization to say, we are good to cover this import. We will pay because we as a bank have the capacity. Do you know that we had reached a level where that was not possible? So meaning, imagine how difficult it was to do business at that level. Thank God that they've cleaned that up. Unfortunately, the stain to this whole situation is this one. You know, there are three things I've always held against this government. Number one, the power situation. And I know people always tell me, you know, fixing the power is not like writing a sermon. And I just laugh. I say, okay. Fixing power is not like writing a sermon. But our beloved president is on record, on television, on camera, saying in 1.5 years, load shedding will be a thing of the past. He said it. So whether we had drought or didn't have drought or whatever is going on with ZESCO is immaterial. That's a promise that has been broken. And someone like me and Dr. Nkhoma here, who teach governance, who teach management, who teach proactive management, this is without excuse. Second factor, the corruption fight. Yes, we've had a few big wigs locked up. But for me, I never tire to speak about the Grandin Tumbo whistleblower case of Ministry of Finance, where over 1 billion kwacha and crazy amounts of money have been misused. This problem started in the previous administration. It flowed over into this current administration. The whistleblower has been in hot soup. He hasn't been paid for 31 months. He has been victimized. He has been ignored. He has been sidelined, even with judgments from the Supreme Court. I expected our head of state to raise that as an issue. It's never been risen. So for me, even though God bless our head of state, they are fighting corruption, but in my eyes, it's selective. Third, this one. This one, really, to be honest, I really pray for their sake. This is not where I said, Doc, I'll hear your last comments, but for their sake, I pray, A, they win the election next year. B, the Bill 7 works for them. Because if that does not happen, they will really have put the worst stain to their legacy. You know, people have the mind, human beings have a 9-to-1 bias for negativity. The mind is wired for 9-to-1 bias. So meaning, no matter how much good you do, it's the bad that's remembered. You know, that's the sad part. It's the bad that is remembered, not the good. So I pray for the sake of UPND and their captains, their rulers, and whoever it is running government. I pray for their sake that A, they win the election, and B, this Bill 7 they are pushing goes through with them as winners, because they will really pay a very bitter price. If they win, maybe we'll wait and see what they'll do. But for me, no. If they win and the Bill 7 goes through, for me, they'll have betrayed the trust of civil society, the trust of good governance structures, the trust of many honorable organizations, including the church. And this is going to come back to haunt them. I assure you, it will come back to haunt them. That's my closing remarks. Doc, your closing remarks.
My closing remarks to all the viewers and those that have followed this program, I want to request you to share this platform. As you share the platforms and you send this message, may our honorable members of parliament, because now this Bill 7 is in their hands and the nation is now waiting to see the integrity of these honorable citizens. And I would love also to say, if they decide to listen to their conscience and say, this is about Zambia, then they will make sure that this Bill 7 is packed and we can look at other things later. But if they choose to listen to their political affiliations, like we heard one minister who said, I voted Bill 10 out without reading, then they will vote with their stomachs. And I, for one, I'm a person in governance who have always said, in order for a country to develop, we need leaders of integrity, leaders of goodwill, leaders who know that they are in those positions not for themselves, not by themselves, but by the people they represent. Lastly, my message to the New Dawn government, as much as they have worked hard, there are a number of issues which have not been dealt with. There are issues not just which they promised, but which Zambia is going through right now. I believe that we can focus the energy on development. We can focus the energy on fixing the problems that the country is having. Then the president will not have to struggle to give a lecture of saying one Zambia, one nation. So when I say one nation, one people, because the people already know that the president is with us. As it is right now, I would love to ask the president, Your Excellency, sir, do not listen to those who will come to you today as businessmen and tomorrow they will appear to another as bishops. Listen to the voice of the church. And when the church speaks, the church has preserved morality, the church has preserved integrity, the church has united Zambia. Therefore, it is very important that the government should not just listen to those who speak a language that sounds to be what they want to hear. Sometimes as leaders, we must learn to swallow a bitter pill in order to fix the nation. With those words, I would say thank you, Reverend Water, for the work that you're doing for the nation. And thank you for many others that are standing out to speak for the people, not necessarily for their political affiliation. And some of us, we have refused to sell out because we believe we only have one Zambia. Aruta continua. I thank you. I thank you.
Al-Kabilan arise. Okay, that's Africa. Africa arise. Indeed, Zambia arise. One Zambia, one nation. Indeed, we remain one nation. It's very sad that this whole situation has now been almost turned into something personal and tribal. It's been turned into political. Let me tell you, as we wrap up, do you know that you and I have more in common than we do not have in common? Even if you're on the other side of the fence, even if you are in support of Bill 7 and I'm not, we have more in common than we do not. And so don't let these political issues get to a point where you start bringing tribe, you start bringing religion. No, it's not worth it. That is the rule book of the enemy. Divide and rule. Divide and conquer. You know, divide people so that you now are able to formulate praise singers versus, I forgot what they call the PF people. But these things don't take you anywhere. What matters is we have one Zambia. And in the words that Dr. Nkhoma said, this country can never afford to go up in flames. We cannot afford to do that. We can differ politically. We can even differ over ideology. We can differ over methodology. We can differ over even the process. But we must never differ as a people. So we may not support the whole drive of Bill 7, but that doesn't change the fact that we love this nation. And those who support it also love this nation. What matters at the end of the day is that we are first and foremost looking out for the nation of Zambia. And that's why we did this talk today with Dr. Nkhoma, because we felt, you know what, this issue is very sensitive. I pray that those lawmakers are going to do the honorable thing and stand for the people of Zambia, not this. We cannot afford this right now, and really there's no need for us to rush the Constitution. For me, that's my bottom line. Let it just now go away and let's focus on real issues. Let's get to the election and let's finish that election and move on. So from myself and from the esteemed Dr. Nkhoma out there in I keep forgetting whether it's in Joburg, Durban, or Nelspruit, or Pretoria in Durban. Hey. I keep forgetting. Yeah, so from Doc out there in Durban, and for the rest of us, have a great, wonderful day. Share this video. I'll try and do some edits in my system to see if I can cut out that first part where we could not hear Doc properly, so that we get just to the part where Doc starts speaking. So on that note, all the best, guys. Take care. God bless. Cheers.